Hello there, welcome back. So today we are going to talk about debt. And very specifically, there's two very different types of debt. We're going to go into details about what the difference is and how to manage that, really. Jeremy?
Yeah, well, I think I've said in a previous video that debt is really toxic. Debt is the enemy of wealth. So you can't have a wealth strategy if you also have debt. And one of the goals that you should really set yourself is to become debt-free. And I would even talk about a mortgage here. I get using leverage in investments. So if you want to do a buy-to-let apartment and you can clearly get a much better return on your capital by leveraging that slightly, that kind of makes sense. But mortgage on a primary resident really is just a load of...
So we're talking about personal debt.
Yeah, just a load of debt. And actually also company debt. I mean, again, companies and individuals try often and fix leaky buckets with more water. And you can't fix a leaky bucket with more water, so you need to deal with your debt. And part of that might be adjusting your lifestyle expenses slightly. I always found the better way, what the debt management companies try and do is get you to split a little bit of payment across lots and lots of different creditors. In my experience, because I've been right up against it many times in my life in terms of my own personal circumstances, I always found the best strategy was actually to cherry pick the really expensive ones. So if you had a car payment, let's say, that was at 17%, and then you've got something else that's at 12%, focus on the 17% debt first. Almost stop paying the other one completely. In fact, if you speak to all of these creditors and say that you're considering bankruptcy, a voluntary arrangement, or appointing a debt management company, unless they can help you, quite often they will, in the kind of interests of keeping their own business compliant, because the government doesn't like them being aggressive creditors, quite often they will freeze your interest, they will come up with a really nice payment plan for you, So I think the first thing is don't bury your head in the sand when you're getting those shitty letters from creditors. You need to call them all up, and you need to tell them completely straight that you're working hard to get them repaid, and then basically try and stop all the other payments apart from the most expensive interest rate, and target all of the money at that one, so that you extinguish it as quickly as possible. And once it's extinguished, you've then got all of that money you were targeting plus the extra money you were paying towards that one, and you can then kind of guide the stream of cash towards the next one on the list. And in my experience, if you do it that way, you seem to get through it quite a bit quicker. And then basically, once you've put all the fires out, you need to direct that stream directly into investments, so that you start to build your personal balance sheet again. So the key things really would be, don't bury your head in the sand. Speak to all of the creditors and do deals to try and freeze the interest or get the interest much lower. And pay a minimal amount, and you can explain to them, look, I'm paying you a minimal amount until I've dealt with MasterCard, and once I've dealt with MasterCard, I'll be able to pay you this much per month. All creditors want to be put first, but actually, the debt collection officers you're dealing with are normally pretty friendly. If they've sold the debt, sometimes it's even easier, because you can just negotiate settlement figures, which are much lower. It's not uncommon if you're...
pennies on the pound kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not uncommon if your credit card debt has been sold to a debt collector, that you can settle at 30-40% discount sometimes. So
worth having the conversation.
Absolutely, much better than paying the interest and the thing over years and years and years and years.
As you say, get your head out of the sand and actually go and engage with these people. Fundamentally, whenever you're dealing with people, it's not as if they're really that scary.
Yeah,
they just happen to be on the other end of where you owe money. That's
and actually, all. Bankruptcy is for most people a complete no-no, and they would never consider it. Bankruptcy in the UK is only a year. In fact, people from all over Europe travel to the UK just to go bust. It's called bankruptcy tourism. And after that year is up, you're then a discharged bankrupt, and you can pretty much carry on as normal. There's a few things that you're restricted from, but basically it's not a really terrible thing. But it does make all of your debt disappear in one go. Yeah. So if you owe £200,000 and you earn £30,000 a year, after your living expenses, it might take you 20 years to pay that debt off. Well, 20 years is, a good chunk of your adult life. So why waste that 20 years when, frankly, you could draw a line under it in 12 months and be out the other side, and then build some serious wealth and become really successful.
Obviously, as long as you're imprinting the right habits thereafter.
Absolutely. And there are dozens and dozens of hugely successful entrepreneurs that have been bankrupt in their lifetime. So don't let this, don't let the stigma put you off something that could basically save your life, and make your life a lot more comfortable. The other thing is actually once you've accepted bankruptcy as a real alternative, that's often when you don't have to go bankrupt. The fact that you have drawn that line in the sand just a little bit further away, you can then often rescue most situations.
Was that just a perception change? Or?
Yeah, I think what happens is you tend to fight too much to stop yourself from going bankrupt, and the fighting puts the back up of all your creditors, and then somebody sues you, and then they file for a bankruptcy petition, and you end up going bankrupt. Whereas if you've already admitted to them that you're quite happy to go bankrupt and that might be the only solution, they then kind of realise that they're going to lose everything if they don't work with you and try and come up with something that's maybe just a little bit better than bankrupt. So getting 10p in the pound instead of getting nothing might be better for them. So sometimes accepting the fact that that's what's going to happen can save you from it.
And actually, in terms of a personal happiness and so on, it's going to be a huge weight off your shoulders.
Yeah. And I had somebody come on the Harbour Club who'd been sued by his bank, and his advice to everybody. So he was sued by his bank for £1.5 million, and he fought it for about 4 years through the courts and poured loads of money into trying to protect his position. And in the end, he went bankrupt. And his only regret was he didn't go bankrupt right at the beginning, because basically it would have been, Yahoo sucks to the bank, and they'd be out of pocket, and then he would start rebuilding his life and moving forwards. So all that happened was 5 years got sucked into the whole scenario, and he was in exactly the same position at the end of it. Absolutely. So sometimes get your retaliation in first is the advice. So
great stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, guys. Well, listen. I think that's a really nice summary on if you are in a situation where you've got some debts. It's about prioritising.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, getting things in order. Head out the sand if you're in that situation, and really getting very, very clear on your financial status.
Yeah. And a couple of things I'd add to that is don't use debt to pay off debt. That's a real idiot move. The problem is society and media has normalised debt. It's not normal. You shouldn't be in debt. You should have, your balance sheet should be assets, not liabilities. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much. If you've enjoyed this, then please do enter your details below. This is one of many videos that we're doing on money, basically, on wealth and wealth growth, preservation and acquisition strategies. Please do enter your details. If you've already done that, then we will see you next week, and I look forward to it. Thanks very much, Jeremy.
Thank you.